I found this diamond in the rough in a town called Eureka, California. This is a Puget Sound falling axe. It's the quintessential Pacific Northwest logging axe. These axes are fairly hard to come by, and to get one in this good of condition with the original handle is pretty special. So I'm going to do everything I can to just sort of preserve its original vintage qualities here, keep this handle, and just clean it up. I have to start by taking this wedge out so I can pull the handle off the head. And I drilled a couple of screws into the wedge. Now I'm pulling those screws out. Hopefully they pull the wedge with it. It takes a couple tries, but I did get the wedge out, but I did use some vice grips there after the wedge got a little loose. So now that the wedge is out cleanly, you can use a little drift and just pop the handle off. Came out really nice. Just admiring the head there. Time for a little wire wheel action. The head still has some black paint or possibly Japanning finish on it, and I'm trying to preserve that as best I can, but it does have a little bit of rust and some little rust bubbles and stuff, so I'm using sort of a soft wire wheel on the impact driver, which has a really high RPM. It does a pretty good job of removing that superficial rust. For more intense rust removal, I would use the cup wire wheel on the angle grinder. So here I'm moving to cleaning up the handle. Got a piece of tape down there that was just sort of augmenting the knob so it didn't slip out of the user's hand, getting some of that residual adhesive off with the soft wire wheel there. And it's actually doing a really nice job cleaning up the wood, and it brought the grain out a little bit. And so I thought, gosh, I'll just run this down the handle and see how it cleans up. And it's doing a fantastic job taking off all the marks, the dirt, the grime, and everything, and still leaving some of that original finish. Here I'm working around that original sticker. I don't want to mess that up at all, because that's a really nice aspect to this handle. I hadn't used a soft wire wheel to clean up a handle ever in the past that I can remember. I always just use sandpaper to clean things up, but this was a really nice surprise. I think I may even try it on some new handles to bring out the grain texture a little bit more. So I did end up taking it to the oscillating belt sander here just to smooth the shoulder on this handle. It did have a bit of a step where the head was sitting from the factory hang. I wanted to kind of smooth that out so I could sink the head a little deeper onto the shoulder and just have a smooth transition into the axe head. Now I'm getting the wedge ready. Sort of was trying to figure out what wedge would look good. I thought this sort of patterned laminated wedge would be pretty cool, and it would have looked really good, except it was just a little too short. After I shaped it, it just went all the way through. So I went back and grabbed just a standard walnut wedge. Figured this is just sort of classic axe, wanted some classic appearance to it, and the walnut fit the bill here. So I'm just shaping it so the wedge can sink down into the axe head and fill up all the space there on the ends. And this process is just sort of test and remove some material, test and remove. So here, getting ready to do a little test fit here, seeing how that handle works into the axe head. Want that nice smooth transition, just doing a little cleanup work here with some sandpaper, really just trying to get rid of that shoulder line and then blend everything very evenly. I think I'm using an 80 grit piece of sandpaper here. I'm being extra cautious to do this slowly without taking too much material off and trying to keep everything symmetric. Switched over to some 120 grit here, just smoothing things out, making it look good. Takes a bit of work, but I was pretty happy with the result here. So snugging it up, making sure everything's looking good here. I want it to sit just a little bit proud. It wasn't quite seating far enough down, so I decided that I need to take a little more material off that shoulder area. I grabbed some scrapers to begin with to see what that would look like, and it wasn't quite doing the job, so I grabbed the spoke shave, and this is doing a perfect job. Really nicely smooth blend to this shoulder area, just taking off as little old material as I can, but still sort of preserving the shape. Just making sure that this gets a nice snug fit, about a ½ inch deeper than it was sitting. Now I get the scraper here just to smooth things out. These actually work really nice for this sort of thing. I got these scrapers from Whiskey River, I think. They're pretty cheap. They just sort of are steel plates with a kind of a sharp edge that allows you to do some smoothing, blending of different textures. And there's the product here. I think it came out pretty nice. Got a little touch-up work there. There we go. Another test fit. This hammer I'm using here is a wooden hammer that my son actually made from scratch. He went and had a piece of basically firewood he shaped into a hammerhead, drilled the hole, made the handle and everything. It's nice to use wood because it's a little softer, leaves less marks than steel hammers. But as luck would have it, my wedge broke on me on the end. This was kind of an oh shit moment. Looking at things, trying to figure out what to do. So looking at where the piece broke off in the wedge, it was a little deeper than the handle is sitting there. So my thought at this point was, if I can get that piece and glue it back in there, because the end actually matches up pretty good. Everything was going really well with this wedge, except for that. I'm going to seat it down in there, and I'm just going to leave it alone, let it dry, and then I'll cut it off. So that's the plan. Drive it in there just a little bit, snug it up, let that glue harden, and we should be good. I do like gluing the wedges because just a little insurance to make sure they don't come out while the axe is being used. Now, I don't plan on actually using this axe, but just in case, I want it to be solid. So here's the next day. Everything looks pretty good. We're going to cut it off and see what we're dealing with. As long as everything looks nice and tight in there, we'll leave it as is. And it does. There's a little still of the cutoff. And just doing a little work area cleanup with that sweet little hand blower. I use that thing all the time. Next step is just cleaning up the top of the eye here, which is sitting about an 1/8 inch proud from the axe head. I think it looks pretty good like this. I'm really just taking care to get it nice and even across the top, take away the saw marks, and work the sandpaper grits up to usually about 220 or 320, just to bring out the grain texture in the wedge and the handle end. I also like to give the edge of the handle on top there a little chamfer, just to hopefully prevent cracking or splitting. All right, now it's time to oil up the top of the eye there. I'm using some tung oil here, which will give a nice appearance to the wood as well as offer some protection for it as well. Now, I didn't take the handle all the way down to bare wood, so I'm just going to throw some of my paste wax on this handle for some protection and final finish here. The paste wax is basically made from some raw Swedish linseed oil, some turpentine to cut it and help penetration, and some beeswax, a little dash of carnauba wax as well. I added some essential oils in there too to give it a nice smell. It really feels good, looks good, and offers good moisture protection for the wood. For the axe head itself, I'm going to apply some of this Shop Shepherd shop oil. It offers a nice cleaning and protection from rust, and I absolutely love how this stuff smells. So nice. That shop oil is made by ZH Fabrications. Now I'm just doing a little tidying up, putting things away, and we're going to put a little bit of an edge on these two bits here. Now I don't intend to actually use this axe, but I do like how axes look with sort of a filed or polished bit end in contrast to the patina. So that's basically what I'm just doing here. I don't really need a real keen edge on this. I'm just doing a little file work to sort of expose some bare metal on the bits, just basically for appearances. And I really don't want to take any length off of the bit at all. These are in really good condition. So in my opinion, less is more here. When working with hardened steel, you can really appreciate good files from bad files. That one is a new file that hasn't seen much use at all. And it makes short work of the job, and it's pretty satisfying. After the file work, I use this double-sided sharpening puck just to sort of clean up the edges. The file is just sort of the preliminary edge work, and with a little bit of time, that puck will give it a pretty nice edge. But like I said, I'm not really going for super sharp here. I'm just adding a little more paste wax to that bare sort of exposed wood there, and just adding one last little thin coat to the rest here. It's coming along really nicely, just about done. All right. That Collins Legitimus stamp is very prevalent now. It is a specimen here. Get you some glamour shots. Very special axe. A legend in the Pacific Northwest. And I'll leave you with one old vintage. I added one really cool picture at the end here just to show you the types of trees that the loggers would use this kind of axe for. Thanks for watching.